This is Kathy from Dee's, and in this video we're going to show you how to design and trim a basic hat for the Derby. We'll be doing one very similar to this hat where we're going to add some flowers, some either netting or ribbon, we'll show you both, and then at the end we will be adding in some feathers. So we're going to start with a basic hat undecorated and show you how to put this together. Okay, to create your Derby hat you're going to need a blank hat. So you can start with one that comes with no decoration, no band, or you can take one maybe that you wore last year or that you found at a consignment shop, or maybe even one in a store that has something on there that you don't like but you like the shape of the hat, and you can take that off just by heating it with a hair dryer and carefully pulling that glue, or sometimes you'll find a few stitches that you'll need to snip. So basically we want to start though with our blank hat. The first thing you need to do is figure out where you want to put your design. If you turn your hat over, you're probably going to have a label. If you don't have a label, then if you'll look, somewhere in the brim of the hat there will be a seam, and that'll be your back. Not that you couldn't switch that around a little bit on most hats. If it feels more comfortable turned a little bit, that'd be fine. This particular hat, we do have some crinoline, and it will be, this is actually the back of the hat. It'd be very hard to switch this one. So that's going to be the back of our hat, and we want, on this particular hat, we're going to do the design off to the side. So this is our front, and this is going to be where our design is going to be. To make that easier, we'll mark the front with a piece of tape, masking tape, or we could mark the side where our design is with a piece of tape, so that you're not constantly flipping the hat over and making sure that your design is where you want it to be. So let's start by marking that. Okay, the hat that I'm doing today, I want the design to be, if this is the front of the hat, I like to mark the front, then I want my design to be on the right front. I like to put the tape on the front because then I can visualize when I'm working on the hat, looking toward the hat, that the design is in the right place. The first thing we start with is the ribbon. We do want to make sure we're using a ribbon that is either wired, that means a wire in the edge that I can use to adjust the band so it lays flatter against the hat, or you want to use a ribbon that's sheer, that gives a lot. Most of the time I'm going to use a wired ribbon. I will be showing some other things like netting and crinoline and netting that will also work on a hat. We're going to start with ribbon because that's going to be the most common thing. This is where my design is going to be, so I'm going to add a little bit of glue to the hat, and I mean a little bit of glue. You don't need a lot. You don't want to soak through your ribbon. Okay, so we put a little bit of glue on the hat, and now we're going to put the ribbon, which is probably adhere the ribbon. Give that just a second, because if I pull too quickly, I'll just pull the ribbon away from my glue. Now we're going to turn the ribbon in the hat, so the ribbon is right down where the crown meets the brim. When I go about halfway around, I do need to tack that ribbon down a little bit, or it will slide up when you're wearing the hat. And again, we want a tiny bit of glue. That's all it takes to hold that ribbon down. That will adhere the ribbon. I'm going to go all the way around, and then I'm going to overlap a little bit and cut it. And what I want to do next is I'm just going to glue the bottom part of the ribbon down, the bottom edge. I want to leave the top edge free, because I'm going to look and see if I have any gapping, and you can see I do have a little bit of gapping here. Sometimes when you put the hat on, that gapping will disappear, but I like to try to make sure that is not there. There's a wire in my ribbon. I'm going to take the pair of scissors or a pair of tweezers or whatever I can use, and I'm just going to take that wire and bend it backwards so that when I pull the wire on the other side of the ribbon, I don't pull it out. Now I'm going to grab my scissors and pull that wire. And I'm just going to pull it a little bit, and even that little bit that I've pulled will already start to ease in any gapping. Just give it a tug, fold it backwards so it doesn't pop back out again. And already you can see pretty much most of the gapping is gone. If I need to, I can go back in here and pull the bottom wire just a little bit to pull the back side. And then just bend that wire backwards so it doesn't come out again. And then I can continue to glue that ribbon down. Now this is all going to get covered up with flowers, feathers, ribbon, bow, so it doesn't have to be particularly neat. Okay, that's the first step. Now to decorate our hat, this particular hat is going to be orange and yellow. We could start with I brought this green flower over here because it just shows a millinery flower with a pin back. If you wanted to, you could, if you can find the flower you like, a millinery flower, that would be a pretty flower to add to the hat. Or I wanted to show these today because these are a little hard to work with. These are just silk flowers, stems. And of course, we're not going to use all the stuff. I don't like to use leaves very often. So I'm going to cut all these off. I'm not going to cut them real short because I may want the length of that stem. So I'm going to cut about 3 inches from the flower because I may want those flowers to stick out from the hat a little bit. I'll show you what I mean in just a second. I don't particularly like to use buds. It's hard to put a bud on there sometimes that doesn't look like a horn. A lot of times I'll go on and save it just in case I need to fill in a space and use that bud. So the first thing we want to put on our hat are the largest flowers. So if I'm going to do this size flower and maybe these little cosmos, which I'm going to go on and snip these off so we have them ready. Again, don't snip them too close. You may want that stem. You can always cut them more later. But I like to snip them all off and get rid of the stem. Okay, so remember this is the front of our hat. So we want to be able to look at our hat and then look at the flower and see if that's the way we want it to look. I think I'm going to have too long of a stem. I'm going to chop it a little bit. We're going to run some glue right along the stem. Again, not a lot of glue. And we're going to position that where we think we might want it. It's, you know, it's not like you can't change your mind and move this flower later. Again, heat it up a little bit with the hairdryer and you can move your flower. Give that, I don't know, 30 seconds maybe to cool before you do too much or you're going to shift your flower. We have another one. I'm going to go and take that leaf off. And if you want, you can also pin these on the hat temporarily while you decide your positioning. Maybe you want 3, we could do just 2. We could do 1 backwards and 1 up. And all the space here will be filled up with ribbon, so we don't have to worry about our stem showing. This particular hat, I think I'm going to do 1 coming up. We want plenty of room for our ribbon, so I want to show you how to do that. Remember, the stems will be covered up later. You will need some ribbon to cover those up or feathers. And then this one, I'm going to tuck in. And you can play around and see where you want it to be. They could all face forward. The ribbon could be behind it. Turn your hat. Or if you like the look of one being backwards, you can do that. Let's see. I think we'll go with all facing forward on this one. So I'm going to cut this stem a little shorter. That'll be good. This one, since the stem is short, I've gone up on the flower a little bit of the glue. Okay, so we're just going to let that cool for a second. And I wanted to add some yellow flowers into this one because the ribbon had some yellow in it. The dress that I'm matching it to has some yellow. I have left these kind of long. I could tuck them in close, but I like the idea that they're going to be a little airier. So again, a little bit of glue. Go to the front of your hat. Make sure you like the positioning. You have a little bit of time to adjust. I'll stick another one down here. Now, sometimes I don't put all the flowers in because I'm going to start adding some ribbon. I can always go back later and use a flower to fill in a gap if I don't put them all in right now. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to let that be the basis, and then I'm going to go back now and add some ribbon. So you can do just this ribbon that we have at the band. We've had the band out of this ribbon. We could also make the bow. When you're making your bow, it's not a basic bow. It's not nice, even loops. You want to make a loop, and then maybe the next one you'd like it to be a little longer. Don't make even ones because you want it to be more like loops of ribbon as opposed to a bow. So this one I'm going to even make a little bit shorter. So I've got 3 loops of different lengths. Now I can always add more. But start with this and go back and add more. I'm using a cloth covered wire to twist around. Snip it close because we're not going to need that wire because we're going to glue. Now you can play with your ribbon loops and see where you want them. You could tuck them underneath this flower. bringing a loop to the front. I could tuck them in this way. Again, kind of bring that loop to the front. Just play around till you get it the way you want. Again, you can always add more loops. We're just starting out here.